Teachers are under attack nationally.
Yep.
You're having these massacres. They want to arm teachers with guns. They won't give them enough supplies, so they have to spend their own money for supplies, but they want to give them guns. What the hell's going on in this country?
Well, I can tell you that guns and bullets are expensive. I'm a veteran. I was in the United States Marine Corps. I did one tour of duty in Iraq. And so what I can tell you is that arming teachers doesn't make sense. Teachers do not have a culture of security, which means they don't have a culture of weapons handling, weapons maintenance. And what I'm here to tell you is I was in the United States Marine Corps. When I went to Iraq, which was a combat zone, people, not just Marines, but Army, Navy, every group, people left their weapons in the bathroom, in the cafeteria, right? So what I'm telling you is if these people who are trained to handle their firearms and need their firearms to protect their lives in like not in a theoretical, but in an everyday situation, if these folks are not able to maintain positive control of their weapons on a day-to-day, what makes you think that 5 days a week over the course of a year that not a single teacher who is potentially given a firearm is either going to leave it at home by accident, leave it in the bathroom by accident, leave it in their desk by accident, right? And then what happens if a student gets a hold of that potentially government-issued weapon, right? I actually ask my students, because this issue, unfortunately, let's keep it real, there are mass shootings every year with the exception of the pandemic year when we were online. There were school shootings every year that I've been teaching. And so we talk about in middle school the central question of government, right? And like, what are the laws? And I teach the children, there's always going to be a line, and it's up to whatever generation is in power to determine where that line is, right? In terms of things. So the issue came up about gun rights. And so I was really shocked my first year of teaching where many of the 7th graders, more or less their opinion is that people shouldn't be allowed to buy guns until they're 28. And I was like, wow, I thought that they might think lower. But what occurred to me is that many of these students have actually witnessed or experienced a loss in their family group or friend group as a result of gun violence. And to be frank about it, they don't have to know the actual research behind it, no statistics. They know that it was some kid with a 16 or 20-year-old or 23-year-old kid that had the gun and shot someone, right? And so what does the statistics show? The statistics show that males, age 16 to 24 commit 90% of the violent crime, including murders. And so when I hear these kids, what I realize is they understand that intrinsically and with just by observation, right? We're all critical thinkers. They looked at the situation and realized, the people that are shooting up the block, the people that are shooting the people I know are people that are young. And so in their minds, what they're thinking, I'm speculating here, is let's push the age up, and hopefully that alone will do something. Now, I don't know what the solution is to gun control. I'm not trying to...
it sounds like it's a business, profiteering.
It does sound like it's profiteering, yeah.
And people make money off of sales of guns.
I also think, and that would be another potential to make money is by arming teachers. But what I'm saying is it's not a good idea to arm teachers because my experience in the Marine Corps is these are the 3 things that happen. People did not maintain positive control of their weapons at all times. That's a bigger problem when you're in a school environment. People committed suicide with the very weapons they were given in Iraq, right? People, for whatever reason, whether it was on purpose or an accident, engaged in what they call green on green, which means like fratricide, either because there was confusion of communication and people were shooting and there were people in the middle, or because in some cases, like when I was in Iraq, there was a gentleman who was in the Army who threw a grenade in a tent and then had his M16 and was mowing people down as they came running out. So what I'm saying is, if we put more guns in more hands, just from a statistical standpoint, there's going to be more shootings. That's just how math works. So I don't think that putting more guns in more hands in the terms of teachers makes sense. Because just because someone's a teacher doesn't mean that they're prepared to use that weapon in a way that makes sense. And it really sounds more like what you said, like a profit scheme, which is who's going to get the contract. You see what I'm saying? If the state decides as a state that they're going to issue weapons to teachers, that means there's going to be a state contract for those weapons. You see what I'm saying? And I'm sure there'll be a state contract for training. But what I'm telling you is that if trained professionals in the military have problems with firearms, what are the odds that teachers are going to get some kind of 2-week training and then be ready? Probably not. And I asked the students the same question when we have that gun debate, not really a gun debate, but just a question about what do you think about firearms and that. And when I say, well, because it always comes up every year, should teachers be armed? And usually the kids are like, yeah. And I go, okay, well, let's start to add some facts. I say, in this classroom, think about every teacher that you have or have had your whole life. Have any of those teachers maybe acted angry or yelled at you? Yeah. Now think of the teacher you think is the worst teacher. Do you want to give that teacher a gun? And usually the vote then shifts the other way, right? Because they also start to realize, maybe not, because all humans are emotional and all humans make mistakes, right? So I just don't think it's a good idea to arm teachers for numerous reasons. Not just the I'm sure the talking point is they're going to stop school shootings. When we put law enforcement officers in schools, and not a single law enforcement officer has ever stopped or prevented a school shooting on a campus as it was beginning or once it began. We know that. So why would Army teachers be any different? You see what I'm saying? It just doesn't add up. And law enforcement professionals are trained, like that's their career, and they're having trouble doing it. Why are we not going to give this other people? If my job is to teach, now my job is also to provide security. Why? How many jobs do I have to have before I start to degrade my skill set? You see what I'm saying? I just don't think it's a good idea to arm teachers. I myself personally own firearms. I'm not against gun ownership. I am against guns being on a school campus. I don't think that makes any sense. I don't think it makes even sense to have law enforcement on campus, because what we've noticed when we put law enforcement on campuses is we've increased incarceration rates, prison to pipeline rates. We have not decreased school shootings. So it doesn't make sense to me.